Hey everybody, welcome to a very special LonsTV, more of a storytelling LonsTV than a review necessarily. My car that I've had for about 11 years has died. The other day, it's a whole thing. The other day, the rear view mirror broke off. I was driving through Sunset Junction, and I reached up to adjust my mirror. It was a little off, and it just came off in my hand. I did like a little cartoon double take, like it came off, and then I looked at it, and I looked up, and I was like, it's not supposed to come off in my hand. I think that's supposed to stay up there. So that was just weird. It wasn't even a thing. Like, I guess if you'd asked me, I was like, yeah, I guess that could happen, but it wasn't even a thing I was aware could happen to cars. That was a thing that, well, when your car starts to get older, the rear view mirror is going to fall off, you know? That's the car version of, like, testicles descending or whatever. But, so I went to AutoZone right down the street here, and I bought this $3 kit that's like the rear view mirror repair kit. And I didn't question it at the time for being only $3. I was just like, yeah, that's what that shit costs. So I followed all the instructions to a T, I swear. You know, you have to like scrape off whatever residue is left of the old glue, and then you wipe the area down with like some alcohol, and you draw a little outline around where it was so that you can tell where to attach the new one, and you put a little dollop of glue, and then you take the back part of the rear view mirror off so that you don't have this whole mirror that you're gluing up there. So I glued up the little button, and I had to hold my hand here for like 4 minutes to get the glue to set, which you think would be really easy to just hold your hand up here. I mean, it's not heavy. I'm not like lifting something, and I'm not pressing as hard as I can, but still, like, after 4 minutes, my arm starts to like really hurt from holding it up there and like kind of shake a little, and it's like, shit, I have no upper arm strength. But anyway, the button glued on, and then I waited like, over 15. It tells you to wait 15 minutes. I waited like 2 hours. And then I go back, and I take the rear view mirror, and I take the button, and I'm about to attach it, and the button comes right off. The glue just comes right off. Didn't work at all. So I swore for about 10 minutes in the car, just angry. And then I figured, screw it. Today, I'll just take it to a professional mechanic, and they will charge me whatever they want, because they'll have good glue, and they'll know exactly how to do it. Maybe I screwed it up. And I'll just pay $50 or whatever, get this taken care of, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. So I get in the car to drive to a mechanic's down the street to get my rearview mirror put on, and it has a little bit of trouble turning over, but it turns over. I figure maybe I'll mention it as long as I'm going to the mechanic. Anyway, I get halfway down my street, dead. Car just dies, just stops running, boom, 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 boom. And I'm just stopped in the middle of the street, blocking my neighbor's cars, blocking driveways. So I have to call AAA and have the guy come out. And I can't even see if people are trying to, like, get around me because I don't have any goddamn rear view mirror. So it takes, like, 45 minutes for the AAA guy to get there. And it takes him 3 minutes to deduce that the engine is dead. By this time, there is smoke coming from the engine. So clearly, the engine no function anymore. Need new engine. $3,000 or so to get a new engine. I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to experience carless LA for a while and then figure out how I'm going to possibly get a new car at this point in my life without a new job. So it's going to be an awesome carless adventure that I invite you to join me on in the next couple of weeks on LonsTV until I figure out my next move. It also means I have a car parked out on the street in front of my apartment that is immobile and useless and packed with a decade worth of my own crap that I haven't ever bothered to go through. I mean, ever. Like, the bottom of my trunk, I have no idea what's going to be there. I'm sure, like, Jets to Brazil and Shin CDs are going to make some appearances, but seriously, it's like an archaeological expedition into my own recent past. I'm sure fascinating discoveries are going to be made about things that Lon was doing and what life was like for Lon in early 01 and 02. We're gonna go back into the past. I'm thinking I'm just gonna donate the car once I cleared out all this horrible stuff I'm sure is in there. I'm gonna have to donate it, I guess, so somebody will just come pick it up and I'll just give it to them for getting it out of my face. And I was actually thinking about doing that, and the first thing that occurred to me is like, oh, I'll get a nice little tax write-off, which is like so drearily now I'm in my 30s that I've started thinking that I'd like to do things just because I can get a tax write-off. Like, in my 20s, I would donate things for 2 reasons. Liberal guilt, and because I thought if I gave somebody something, they might give me pot in return. Those would be the only 2 reasons I would donate anything in my 20s. Now I'm thinking about donating things just because next April, I'll get to save a few dollars. Like, oh man, It is sad. It is sad to get old. Anyway, I want to review something, because I don't want this to just be like Lon thinks he's Spalding Gray monologue hour. So I'm going to review my car, my 1999 Nissan Altima that I have driven and enjoyed since, I believe, early in the year 2000. So this entire decade and a little bit before, I have been driving this car. I do have some insights into it. You know, it's a nice looking car. It actually looks more like a luxury car than you think for sort of other cars in its class. Or it did when I initially got it. Now it does not look so good because after a while I started getting into random fender benders, not all of which were my fault, some of which were my fault. And I stopped bothering to repair it because I was like, oh, I'll get a new car soon. This has been like the past 6 years. We're like, oh, I'll get a new car soon. So now it looks like it's been through a Jason Statham film, where it's just like random dents and scrapes and scratches, and like I've driven it on rooftops or whatever. It's like the Rocky Marciano of cars, just swollen and beat up. There's actual loose things that have loose things attached to the original loose thing. So I'd be driving around thinking like, well, I hope that big part doesn't come loose, and then that little part comes off and it attaches to that other part, because then I'll never make it to Chipotle. Like, that's a sample inner monologue while I'm driving around town a lot of the time. A few years ago when it was about 7, 8 years old, the alternator broke and no one could figure out. I would take it to various mechanics and no one would ever say, I think maybe it's an alternator. They would always assume the battery was dead, and then I would be like, no, I just got a new battery put in the other day. And they're like, oh, they must have sold you a bad battery. So it was like 10 days of this tragicomic farce of me getting a new battery put in, getting suddenly confident in my new car, driving to some other destination in LA, and then the car dying again. And then AAA, new battery, drive around, car dies. And it was just going on and on and on and on until finally, 10 days later, not even a mechanic, I just mentioned it to someone I knew, and they said, oh, it sounds like it's your alternator. Sure enough, that was the problem. As soon as I changed the alternator, it worked great again. I've always felt like the car itself was a bit sluggish, like it lacked pep that other cars would have, especially of its size. Like, going up steep hills, it would always be like a little bit like, come on, buddy, you're gonna make it. Whereas other cars would be just like kind of zooming by, like they wouldn't even notice that we were going up a hill. So I always felt that was just in the back of my mind about the Altima all along. It always had electrical weirdness, like windows that would get stuck, and it always seemed like there were short circuits. It was prone to that. Also, it had the worst turning radius of all time. All time. I swear, if cars were people, most cars would be like a 60-pound Korean gymnast, and my car was like me. So it's like, it can turn around and like face another direction. You can like pivot quickly, but like you're gonna wait a few minutes. Whereas like most cars would be like doot 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 doot. My car was like, hang on, and you would do like you're going around Big Ben and Parliament every time you want to do like a U-turn. So that was always an issue. But those are overall minor quibbles. It was a great car. I had it for this entire past decade. It's kind of poignant that it has now given out, like, right as we're on the cusp of a new decade, like, literally within 24, 48 hours of a new decade, and the car is no more. It's a little bit poignant. I was going to say bittersweet, but there's nothing sweet about it, because now I don't have a car, and I have no way to get to Chipotle. So it's just bitter. So that's today's LonsTV. I promise I'll be back with a more upbeat episode tomorrow, where I will review something real. I actually just watched that M. Night Shyamalan scripted Devil movie about the elevator, so we'll have to talk about that maybe tomorrow, and then a new web series Wednesday next week for Tube Filter. Excited about that too. So thanks everybody for watching and subscribing and writing comments and giving feedback. I really do appreciate it. I love that you guys are watching and enjoying this, all 75 to 100 of you. So thanks a lot, and I will see you next time on LonsTV.